So now to take it a little more towards exactly where you were going, let's even look at just the right-wing media ecosystem, though, of independent media, where it's supposed to be like people don't control what you say. You know, it's still just dudes talking in a studio.
They're the real deal.
Right. Now you look at Daily Wire, now you can criticize them because it's like now there's clearly people in back offices saying, all right, we're going to make a show that does this. We're going to have a hard stop at this time. And they talk in corporate speak. And suddenly they're controlling what the narratives are. And when people say things that they don't like, oh, you're out. That's a problem. And I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. That's a huge, huge problem. And, you know, if I were a liberal strategist or a conservative strategist right now involved in either one of the quote unquote independent media worlds, meaning let's label this part of the level of independent media, meaning just something that's not one of the mainstream networks that's, you know, funded by a public company and things like that. It's more of a, you know, small brand type idea. Then I would be having a hard look in the mirror about the freedom I give the people on my platform to run their show and do what they want to do. If we're truly going to be independent, then everyone's got to say what they're going to say, and you know we'll deal with how the chips fall. The problem is the lawyers get involved, and I'll defend the lawyers here. It's just a shitty way that the system works. Their job is to find fucking risk everywhere, and identify it, and try to prevent that. And they're not thinking about like how this looks or what the cultural war is going to be. That's not how they think. They're thinking like, is this going to
risk mitigation? Right. That's what they're paid for.
Right. And so it's a complicated world, and I'm not going to sit here. I don't have the responsibilities that those places have. They're fucking huge.
Correct.
Right? So I'm very careful about throwing stones from glass houses, but like we do have to be careful in independent media about how things look.
To that point, I am so lucky that when I first moved to DC, Sagar became my mentor.
Yeah.
And everything that I know about journalism and media was through his lens because I was 20 years old. And Tucker used to be in the office, and Tucker taught us everything that I today know about what is actual anti-establishment way of thinking. And obviously Sagar became independent. He started his own show. And I observe very closely beyond his political take how he handles all these vibe shift, because he could have easily played the game of I'm a conservative media host and now I'm whatever. So he didn't do that. It's like, no, I'm a journalist. I'm a capital J fucking journalist.
I like that guy.
However, I lean this way because of what my temperament is and what my principles are. However, I'm going to act like a journalist. And there's a difference. And that needs to exist. I went to journalism school. People stop used to being proud of whatever. I genuinely like the fourth estate and people who are in this vertical, and that expands to people like you, people who are actually doing their due diligence of covering the news and covering everything that's going on. And I think that having that principle matters. And to Tommy's point, cosmetics matter so fucking much.
Unfortunately, they do.
Because it's so easy to get lost in that, we won this fight after 4 years of censorship and all of this and COVID and all of this. Like, now it's our time to win.
Right.
So it's kind of saying, like, fuck you to all things establishment culture and kind of basking in the glory of it by going to the White House and what have you. However, again, you're looking at the timeline in a super myopic way. Things change overnight. And you want to tell your audience when all of this was going on, even though I told this, and this, I was still doing my job.